2021 is coming, and if it's anything like what this last year has been, it's going to be completely unpredictable. So from a financial perspective, how do you prepare yourself for that? Today, I want to give you 3 things you can do to better prepare for an unpredictable 2021. My name is Val Njoroge, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Africa's Podcast. So the 3 things we're going to talk about today are super simple. The first is your emergency fund, which I know is a song I sing about all the time, but I will explain why this is especially important in 2021. The second thing is debt, and I'll explain why this is an especially important thing to think about in this new year. And the third thing is creating additional income, which I know a lot of you love to hear about. So let's get right into it. Building an emergency fund. Typically, we'd say that you should have 3 to 6 months saved up, and that really should be your first goal. If you have no emergency fund at all, work towards saving 3 months at least, because it at least gives you a little bit of time to regroup if anything were to happen, like losing your job or even not being able to be paid by a job you're still working for. That happened to so many of us in the last year. But I think what this last year has shown us is that it's really important to have a much bigger emergency fund than even 6 months. We've seen people who've been out of a job since March, since January of last year. That's going on 12 months very soon. Imagine being in a situation where you have no money coming in for 12 months. It's just not the kind of life you want to live. And the second thing is that people who did have huge emergency funds when coronavirus hit had a lot more flexibility. You could say, I'm going to leave my job and leave a city that may be having a lot of cases of coronavirus. I've heard of people who decided to leave New York City, for example, or London, because they had that flexibility of saying, I can do without a job for 6 months, for 1 year, for 18 months. So an emergency fund is really about giving you flexibility, and that's really what we want 2021 to be for us, to have a lot of flexibility, a lot of cushion, so that you can make choices that improve your life and help you protect yourself. To give you the flexibility to take care of a loved one if you need to, or take a mental break if you need to be able to take unpaid leave from your job for some time if you need the break. There are a lot of people who were able to do that this year, and it's been transformative to their well-being and their mental health. So that's something to think about when building an emergency fund. The second thing is paying off debt. So in 2020, a lot of our financial partners were willing to give us debt forgiveness for some time, or a pause on interest payments and that kind of thing. My suspicion is that in 2021, that will not be a thing anymore. And soon after, a lot of these financial institutions will really be trying to make back the money that they lost. And so interest rates are likely going to go really high. And so if you have debt right now, it is a very strategic decision to think about paying down as much of it as possible, so that you're not caught in an interest rate situation that's much higher than you expected. Another thing to think about is that the currencies around the world right now are going bonkers, which means it's going to have an impact on general financial institutions, and typically that will result in higher interest rates. So for that same reason, you really want to pay down a lot of debt in 2021, and that means that you may reduce how much you're investing, or you may cut down on your expenses and put more money towards any debt that you have, be it a mortgage or a student loan or a car loan if you have one. And the third thing that you want to do is create additional sources of income. We asked you guys the biggest lessons you learned in 2020, and one of the ones that was the most repeated is that one source of income is not enough. And true to that, 2020 has been a year of showing you how much diversity can help you. So you really want to think about investing in yourself, learning a new skill, thinking about how to upskill yourself to be relevant in this digital world that we're going into. There has been a fundamental shift in the way that we work, in the way that companies think about roles. How can you make sure that in your current role, you are valuable, that you are solving a problem that is in this new world that you're living in? And second, how can you create additional opportunities for yourself, perhaps in your industry? How can you learn more or understand a new skill to be able to create an additional source of income, whether that's through freelancing or getting promoted at your current job? And the second way that you can create additional income is by investing more. It could be a real estate investment, it could be a bond that pays dividends, it could be shares that pay dividends. A bond that pays interest and shares that pay dividends. To think about is creating additional sources of income through investments. And you want to think about investments that bring in cash flows. So these could be fixed income assets like bonds, money market funds that pay interest on a regular basis. It could be shares that pay dividends, or it could be real estate. It could be any other form of investment that has cash flows that come from it every so often. And this is a nice cushion, just in case you're not able to get the regular cash flows that you usually get from your job or your main source of income. Then you have this backup that can help you get out of tight situations. So with those 3 tips, you want to first beef up your emergency fund, second, pay off your debt aggressively, and third, create additional sources of income. I'll leave you with those to help you prepare for a better 2021. From my pocket to yours, have a great day.